Let's call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. So at 7:05. So this is our first meeting in person. Thank you for putting this together. This is definitely a different experience than we've experienced. So this is the first time everybody's met Paul in person, or
Yep.
is other people met him before? Okay. So at any rate, what's on the agenda is fairly light. First of all, we'll do acceptance of the secretary's report. And to entertain a motion. So, second. Okay. Any comments or questions? Okay. All right, all in favor of the acceptance secretary's report? I don't have to go around. Just, all in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Do we need a Scott's vote or?
Oh, Scott.
I mean, I'm an aye. If that's, I won't get in the way of that. So aye.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. All right, motion to accept monthly staff reports.
So moved.
Your second. Okay.
What's going on with the cherry tree?
Yeah.
The Avon.
You know what? It's on my list too. What's going on?
The tree good? The cherry tree?
Yeah, I had it looked at and they said it was fine. And shortly after that, a big branch fell off. A branch fell off, I had it looked at, another branch fell off. So the town tree person recently looked at it too. And he said they have a limited lifespan. And because it's over the benches, we don't want to keep that there. So I'm gonna have that removed. And I just heard today that Rotary, who is celebrating their 100th anniversary, is gonna donate $300 toward the tree, community trees, it's called, and that's the town tree planting, so we'll have something
great.
there.
When they remove it, is it gonna mess up any of the brickwork and the benches or anything? Like, is there gonna be any expense for that?
No, probably
No.
not. I don't know yet for sure, because I don't know about the roofs, but I think they're, those aren't.
No, is Dennis gonna take it down? Is Dennis gonna take it down for
I
us?
don't think so.
Oh, really?
But I have to talk to him, but I think we'll have, because that's part of our budget, usually we
I know.
have someone do it. But I will talk to him and see.
Yeah,
What he's
run it
gonna do,
by.
because we've already spoken, so.
All right. I suggest you run it by Dennis and ask him about various things. Do we need to excavate the roots, or can they just be ground?
Is it like if they're gonna plant a new tree there, then
They might have to.
you're gonna have to.
He will definitely help. Yeah, he'll be telling you what to do, because he's in charge of that.
The town received a pile of money
I know,
for trees,
I know.
and I want to say it was $50,000.
Might have been
Earmarked for trees, might be 75.
Might have been
Earmarked
75.
for trees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We might get a really nice tree.
I think we probably will.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a nice tree. Yeah, and the nicest thing is we'll get good advice as to what's the
Yeah.
best thing to put there.
Yeah, Dennis is very good at it, so I'd recommend it. But the other thing, we might have to excavate it if you want to get, especially a nice mature tree, which would be, something that's got some substance,
What is Dennis's last name?
Fazio, thank you. He's the,
Tree
he's
wood.
had he's
Almost grounds and
it's grounds and landscaping, everything.
Cemetery?
Parks,
Parks and Rec.
no, not Parks and Rec. but it's parks.
Cemeteries?
Yeah, I think it's
Cemeteries too, yeah, it takes care of the
I think it's forest.
Dennis actually is an arborist, as far as I know he is.
I'm a fan of taking trees.
No,
I know.
he doesn't like digging.
I know. And I don't either, so we're on the same wavelength, trying to protect them.
Do you know when Plaza Jazz is gonna start?
It will be July and August, but it may also be June and September. I'm still waiting to hear. It's gonna be a combination of Zach Bridges and from Berkeley. So it hasn't been finalized or anything. I don't know what, or even exact dates, but we know it will be Thursday, at least July and August.
I know I saw it somewhere in the finances. Where's the funding this year for Plaza Jazz?
State aid? No. It's either state aid or various gifts.
But I think when you're doing like Friends do it 1 year or different people have done it each year.
Friends did it the very first year.
We also spent Blossom's money on it.
We always do Blossom's money. Now that Blossom's money's gone, I earmarked something. Oh, state aid.
I have a question, the fiber optic light, is that the ceiling rope light should? Okay,
Yeah, but the kids love
Yeah.
it.
yeah, okay, I was just
The
curious.
big kid who loves it is Dave. And what he has gone through to fix that is unbelievable,
Yeah, okay,
because he loves it.
it's a great feature, just wasn't sure if that's exactly what we're talking
Yeah, that's it.
What's up with our motion sensors?
They're old. So we're replacing them all.
Okay.
And we've just opted to replace them all at the same time, rather than bits and pieces, because there are so many of them that we know they'll all, in 2022, they were all replaced.
about.
Are those tied to security cameras or tied to lighting or?
The motion,
Just motion,
Right, but what happens when there's motion?
the alarm.
it's not a lot.
Oh, okay.
And so,
So like our lighting. the
No, no, no,
lighting
it
that's
senses motion in the
Right.
building,
Right,
So
okay,
if
so
you're-
it's a security.
somebody's
thing.
there at night, walking around, you would pick them up.
and so you remember they were going off
Yeah.
frequently, so the neighbors don't like that. I don't like that.
Right.
Dave doesn't like it. So we were hunting and pecking to see what exactly was wrong. And then we came to the realization that they just all needed to be replaced at the same time.
We don't have any lighting that's attached to motion sensors. You know, like you go to
Yeah,
Costco or whatever and like go down the aisle.
There's
the
no
light goes on.
occupancy
No.
lighting, no occupancy, those are occupancy sensors. As far as I know, we don't have.
there were a couple of restrooms. that
Restrooms.
They've been replaced.
Yeah, the restrooms had a couple.
They kept getting broken because people kept pressing. And they were, instead of just, they couldn't tell that they were sensors. So by the time you read it, if the light was on, it didn't go on right away. People were touching it and it was breaking, so. Now there's flip switches.
I don't think it was all ever a good application, because there's not enough unoccupied space in the building. It's like,
Yeah, I just didn't know if we were redoing motion sensors anyway. Is that a way that we could like somehow cut down on electricity costs?
that's what I think it was considered.
Yeah.
Even way back when technology wasn't that good, and it was one of those things where there wasn't a great application, because you really want the lights to be off for a while.
Right.
And then they'd be constantly moving. Like classrooms, like I think like Galvin has occupancy sensors in the classrooms. So if there's nobody in the classrooms for a whole lunch period, they're gone for 45 minutes, they shut down. And then they go on as soon as somebody walks back. So, but
We've been switching out to LED,
Right.
so that saves a little bit.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we were swapping motion anyways. That's something that had already been considered, but it sounds like it doesn't really work well for this application.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it.
This is probably a question for Jackie. I know you mentioned it, Chris, but I don't, what was the introduction to the library for Grace's Loft? What was that? I mean, I don't quite sure what it was.
I think they're marketing Wakefield.
Okay,
In essence, when you market Wakefield, one of the key things to market is this facility and the library.
oh, I get it. Jackie did it.
Jackie did a fabulous job.
Oh, okay. All
They
right.
went to all the businesses on Main Street and were asking, I think.
All right, that's,
The speaker works really well.
yeah.
Speaking of the speakers, can you guys hear us all right?
You have to focus.
Yeah, it's hard. Like Jackie said earlier, if you're talking amongst yourselves, it can be a little difficult, but generally speaking, we can hear you okay.
All right.
Okay,
Catherine,
now I get it. So this was something they did. Okay, and I don't do Instagram, so I have no idea.
very, very nicely done post. Question on the Eagle Scout. Can we do some kind of project where the benches and the tree comes out? I mean, is there brickwork and cobblestones and anything there?
It doesn't seem to be. And if there was in that location, it would probably really require a professional. You know, he's just not even at the boat. It's, so he's more brawn than anything else.
I mean, I look at the Eagle Scout projects here and there, and it's building sheds, baseball things, and this and that.
They
and I
gave
don't
us,
know.
they gave us a shed. So the shed out back was built by Eagle Scouts. We're still in touch. Has he been to see you? He's been everywhere. And I told him to keep in touch. If I think of anything, I'll call him back. Because we might even come up with an idea that more than one group needs something that we all use together or something.
What are the parameters of this project?
It's not really clear to me, and the project would have to be approved by scouting, so it needs to meet certain parameters.
Has to be substantial enough to warrant that designation.
I know, like one year the scout did the Petty Heights Park, and another
Which
one.
reminds me why maybe it's sign stuff, maybe there's things up front.
Yeah,
Patty Heights was a cool thing.
well, and another one, there's a hiking path up at JJ Rounds that goes up to the rock. And Eagle Scout, I think, cleared that, cleaned up all the glass and everything, so. It seemed to be,
They've done
like I said, prom type.
Garden beds, like raised garden beds, like.
Yeah, they've done some little free libraries, and we don't really need that. Thought
You have a big
maybe,
free library.
yeah, we need a big free library. That's what we've got, this big free library. We thought maybe a story walk. We would have to store that then, but we do have a shed out there. And it would require him to get like planning permission where he was gonna place it. So all the things that would be required for that might fit into the categories of things he needs to do, so.
Completely random segue, but I know where else to put it in here. If we do have to redo some of the bricks around the harbor thing, could we look at like, people buying a brick for the 10th anniversary? We do like engraved bricks, something like that.
We could, but I don't know how many bricks are actually there.
Or is there somewhere else where people could, like a little walkway area or something where, I'm just thinking of the anniversary now, that like, you know, it's nothing really.
On the anniversary piece, is there something that you might want to propose for the Scouts for their project to do, like a history, like 100 years of the library? Would that fall within the?
I don't think that would qualify. Maybe if it worked into archiving or something, like if he was gonna do a big scanning project, that might count. So we've got lines of communication open, and we'll see if we think of anything that might work out. Because I'd like to see him find something, you know, half the struggle is to actually find a project. His heart's in it, he just can't find a budget. So we'll see what we can think of.
It's on the 100th anniversary theme. I know there are a couple of things in there about people putting together, pulling the photos and images and stuff, and I've only seen what was displayed on Instagram. I think it's displayed in the library too. It's been so fun looking at those, you know, 100 years ago now, pictures or 50 years, you know, like it's been so. I just think they've done a fabulous job.
Does everyone get their 100-year library card?
Yeah.
Not yet. It's very hard. Did you do that today? No, I did it the second day they were out.
Never used it.
I just used it upstairs a minute ago. What kind of trustee do you can make? But those are really cute. My kids were excited.
That's nice. Do we need to speak louder?
Is there a way to turn off the ear?
Yeah, the ear, no. They can do it from another office, and I think we should probably do that the next time. Except it's hard to breathe in here.
And then the other thing I think that was struck me, the good news theme here, that patron comment about the library being a place to make dreams come true, that it's been from circulation that's put in. Just like, that should be, I mean, like, it's so lovely, and it was like
Very nice.
seeing all the different applications of the library, it's a testament to the library itself, but how do we? I mean, I don't know if Jackie used that line for video, but you know, for future marketing promotion. Nice.
Yeah,
nice
that was-
That would be a great summer reading theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably already come up with it by now, but I think, yeah.
Some sort of, anyway.
For the mental health community forum, as the contributing as a sponsor, what is that? Or can you give it?
This is gonna be the third or fourth time we've done it. There's a coalition of groups. One of them is the town health department. And there's a woman who works with the school department to help identify speakers that would both speak to professionals in the school department and parents. And it's usually somebody that no single group could afford to bring on. Somebody who's, you know, well-known, has written a book, has a radio show, something like that. And is highly skilled in what they do. So that's what they're doing this year. This woman is, we haven't done it in a couple of years because of the pandemic. And this woman mostly lectures on the idea behind sort of competitiveness. You know, like how to be competitive without being ugly competitive, and the stresses that can be involved for a child that's being pushed to be competitive. I think that's part of the idea. And she has a book and we bought it, and it will be on the parent shelf.
When is that?
May 4th, I think.
I was in the Galvin 2 weeks ago. They did the open house for the parents. And that's the first time I've been in the school since before COVID. And I was kind of struck by how many bulletin boards around the school. I don't know if you've been in there, but do you know what's in the Galvin?
Yeah.
But there's so many of them are mental health based, which I thought was, I mean, I have a middle schooler, I get it. I thought that was just interesting how such a huge issue.
I think the idea behind it too is that it's open.
Yeah.
You know, if you, not that everyone has a problem, but if anybody does have a problem, be comfortable about it. There's resources.
It's Casey was saying something about redoing the youth advisory council, restructuring it.
It's pretty much rebranding it. So it's not gonna be called advisory council, it's called something cafe. Yeah, a little more fun. Which is more in line with what they do. You know, she picks their brains for ideas, but when the group gets together, they really just have fun.
Maybe I have to join her.
Yeah, you might. You don't have to join either, you just drop in whenever you want, you don't have to sign up, there's no commitment.
I did, I don't think the library got tagged on it, by the way, but kids did the writing. Kids came here and wrote a book, right?
And they were on the shelf, they were published and put
Middle
on the
schoolers.
shelf, you can check them out.
Yeah, and then just their Facebook post is really 150-page books that these 7th grade girls wrote.
Really?
Yeah, really impressive. I was like novels. They wrote and the kids loved it. So, parents were raving about it.
That was Annie.
Would the program numbers compared to before the pandemic?
I think, I don't know if we have enough to compare, Jackie, but I think we're running pretty much the same. The numbers for programming before and after the pandemic.
It's hard to compare them for children's programs at the moment. Everything is filling. Were we talking about children's programs? I didn't hear the question. Children's.
Say children's, yeah.
Yeah, so for children's, it's a little hard to compare. Everything fills, but we have caps on them for the moment. There are limits that we didn't used to have in place, or the limits were much higher, especially for the smaller kids who are not able to be vaccinated. So our story times are, every single one of them, I'm pretty sure, fills up. And we do, I think, 5 or 6 a week, and they're all full. But the numbers themselves are lower than pre-pandemic because we used to let in 25 kids and now it's like 15.
But would it be fair to say that the numbers are still, like, you're still filling them up? So it's almost like we're comparing apples to apples, so we're back up to that level? Like, as far as percentages?
I mean, yeah, we would have, like previously a toddler story time could have like 25 to 30 kids. Now we can only have 15. So I'm not sure that if we right now opened that up to 25, we would get them. I'm not sure, but they are filling. So, and like all the kids programs are pretty much filling. So yeah, it's not really comparable at the moment, just because we don't know what would happen if we lifted those caps.
What's the thought process for lifting the caps even more as we get into summertime?
I think that they're, depending on what I think a lot of stuff's going to be outside if they can, and I think the caps would be raised if they were outside. I don't know that they've talked about indoors yet. Lifting the caps. I didn't, if there's been a discussion, I haven't heard it yet.
They kind of take things minute by minute, depending on
Yeah.
what it looks like. They're making decisions pretty quick, right?
The decisions that they're making, who's making, is that the Board of Health, or is that?
Oh, no, it's the staff, the youth staff. Because they know their population and they know that the little, like Jackie said, the little ones aren't vaccinated. There's a good chance, even if they open to 25, you're not gonna get 25, because there's, you get 15 because they see 15 is gonna work. There's enough space in the world.
What about the adult programs that are starting to come back in person, like Trivia on Tap and
The adult ones are doing pretty well, aren't they? I don't know what's happened with trivia.
We haven't done a ton of adult in person yet. The handful of like trivia that we've been doing has been okay. I wouldn't say it's back up to the levels that it was in person before. But the online programs, the ones that are still online, are doing incredibly. We had a daytime program, which we've never actually done. We had a daytime lecture and we had like 30 people, which would have been great for an evening program. We were really surprised. Yeah, there hasn't been a ton. I'm trying to think, Catherine, offhand. We have not had very many things in person for adults yet. And a lot of that has been the speaker's preference. We have been giving them the option, and a lot of them prefer to be remote.
Yeah. So we'll see how things change this spring. It's outside.
are they expecting for summer reading to bring it back kind of like pre-COVID in terms of activities, events and things, or is it?
There's a lot,
Yeah, it's a full slate of activities.
the whole plan.
I miss summer readings.
I know. I think the goal is to get back to as normal as possible. And it seems like we're getting able to do that. You just don't want to overstep and run into trouble, and then you don't want staff out. And you can't do it.
Are there any things that you've had to change, or that you guys had to change over the pandemic that you found have worked that you want to keep? Like Jackie was saying, the online speaker for the adult programs, getting to, like, is there anything?
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, is
So-
there an underserved audience that would go to a
And-
lecture during the day?
So,
Tim, is there an underserved audience that would go to a lecture during the day?
And retired people.
Yeah, yeah, or just,
I wouldn't.
maybe it's people who were working from home and they had an interest and they were able to do it because they were home. Or, I mean, that was kind of unusual, so, and it's not something we would have tried before, I don't think.
but I mean, if it tried and it worked, is it something that might be an idea you might want to pursue as far as?
Oh, yeah, we would try,
broadening-
we would try it again
broadening
Yeah.
that base?
and see what happens, yeah. It's all trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, until you can gather enough data. And now we're starting to get the sense that a lot of things are just random. We've been doing, Jackie's been coordinating a library sweep. And so that, you're counting and looking at what people are doing in the building. And she's saying, anecdotally, this looks pretty random. But there isn't a day when certain things happen or it's just how people feel.
Well, the stats that were in here about the computer usage, stats, but just the
Yeah.
fact that people aren't using the computers the way they were.
Right.
And it's nice to have the ability to switch into something else, that has space and reassess, but that was a good point to say, like, if people are looking for the computers, we can put them back, but it's, things change quickly.
Yeah, and we are able to experiment with it. So, like you said, you take them away, if you find you've made a mistake, it's easy to just change and go back to what you were doing before or do some of what you were doing before. But the trial and error really helps.
Is it worth discussing with the different sections, maybe what they've seen in this work, like ideas of where we could probably or try and broaden, like some of those things that we've done over COVID to
Among
better serve?
all the different staff and the different things that they've seen.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
kind of like that's the subject matter experts as far as like
Oh,
maybe.
absolutely. I mean, I'm not at a desk, so I have to go to people and say, what are you seeing? And my job is to remind people to look, because they will be so involved in what they're doing that they're not seeing the big picture that, well, think about that. Did that change? And, oh, yeah, it did change. That is something that, so yes, everybody's involved in all those decisions, because number one, everybody's a patron or represents a patron. And everybody who's at a desk has a different experience and sees something a little different. So you put that all together, and when you're in the same room and you're talking about it, it spurs what other people perceptions are of what they call, and all the ideas get going. So part of the advantage people have now is to actually be in a room together to talk to one another as opposed to over little squares where only one person can speak at a time.
I actually just want to make a comment. I remember I saw the ukulele class, well attended, there's 12 kids taking that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think adults take it too.
Is it adults?
I think she's had adults too.
That's
yeah.
been popular since she started, right? She's
Yes.
been doing
Well, I-
ukulele for a while.
I mean, I don't think I paid attention to it, but that's cool.
Yeah,
Well, this is ukulele for kids, I'm seeing.
okay, yeah.
So they would,
I think you can rent a ukulele or not rent, borrow it from the Library of Things as well, right?
Yes,
yeah.
there's 4 available, and we would just find more, if we needed more, but I think what happens is they try it out, they'll, check it out, try it out, and if they like it, they'll buy one. They're not ultra expensive, but you don't want to hang it around the house if you're not gonna use it, but I think it's simple enough that
It's just-
they like it, yeah.
Anything further on staff reports? Okay. I see none. Just take a vote to accept the staff reports. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got unanimous ayes.
There he is.
All right, public participation, I don't think there is any.
Jackie's,
Jackie's not considered the public.
Jackie Natalia is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking about it.
She's
I
still
didn't
public,
see
she's
that.
still the public, a little more time.
Sorry,
As long as you're here, she's not.
okay. There's two Jackies, okay, I got it, sorry. And we got correspondence, there's one letter, that I have a question about the letter, only because, why did we have to redact the names?
I don't know. Because it was personal correspondence to me, and I don't know, I could have contacted her and said, do you mind if this is a public document? And maybe she would have said, no, she didn't mind, but, you know, the child's name was in it.
Well, I didn't want, I can understand why you take out kids' names, but, I mean, I just thought it was kind of odd. Why the woman, or like, assume it was, the woman, yeah,
Well, I just made the executive decision
Okay.
to do it, so it would be,
all right,
because it wasn't relevant to the.
well, it's a nice letter. Anyway, very nice letter, and I think it ties back to what you were saying, Amy, about kids writing books. Is kids
Yeah, that was-
books?
Yeah, different family.
No, I know,
with
but-
older kids, but yeah, apparently that program was really great.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know if
parents.
it's one that they're gonna do again.
I would think.
So, and
Yeah,
it
because it
was the other
so
thing,
successful, I think
this kid
she-
did it on his own. You said do it.
Oh, no, but I don't know, because it looks like from the letter that maybe he did it with Annie, so
Yeah,
I,
he did.
Well, no, I did it with Andy, but not like with a group of kids, just,
yeah, I'm not sure if he did it. I don't know if his ended up being through that group or not, because I know that theirs are available at the library to check out.
yeah, this one is too.
Yeah, so I don't know if they
think
were
he
all.
was part of that group.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's,
think so.
that's pretty cool, they write, they can write something you can actually put on the shelf.
And they've
Pretty
been
cool.
checked out too, because I haven't been able to get one.
Really?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. But I check it out.
I'm good, did they get, are these
They're in,
bound?
they're in the, they're, well, yeah, not found. We found.
I mean, you just did them in-house, okay,
Yes.
all right.
And they're in the catalog.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. That was all Andy's idea. It was a good idea.
Well, it was very nice correspondence. Parent, sure. Committee reports, got anything on budget? It's rolling along, I'm assuming.
Yes, oh, and I heard, the capital includes the carpet,
Heard that.
51,000 for the carpet.
Is that all the carpet? No, that's not all the carpet everywhere.
That's all the carpet on the main floor, so it's,
Oh, the whole floor's gonna get done as well.
yeah, not the rooms up, just the main one, which is what I asked for, so that's free.
Okay,
And what's the, I know I asked you this probably 2 years ago, what's the shutdown, turnaround time on recarpeting the main floor?
I won't know until I talk to them about it. They tend to do buildings that it needs to be done quickly,
Right.
but it smells and it's, and something like the main floor, they're gonna wanna do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I would imagine just taking up the old carpet is massive.
So we'll have to find out how much time they think it's gonna take and then see if we can plan when's the best time to do it. Off the top of my head, at the end of summer is a slow period. May is the slowest, but we're not gonna be able to do it then.
After summer reading, after Plaza Jazz.
But there's a week after, summer reading.
Yeah.
That possibly,
So
either that or
Labor
we
Day
could,
weekend kind of project, so you're empty for a day while the
Like
carpet sets.
maybe, yeah, we'll have to see what they recommend.
well,
But it's not like we're the first people in the world to do it, so they,
Right.
I'll get advice. And I'll ask other directors how they did it.
we've got to bid it, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. And we go in with the, we also work with the town on that.
Okay, I'm only thinking back, it's you, this carpet, whatever material you pick, It's probably gonna be a long, not necessarily a long lead, but it's gonna be lead time, just material. Guarantee it.
Yes, and we know it's gonna be a problem.
So,
Cheryl's been working on it, and we chose something, and it's not gonna be in stock anymore. It's gonna be used up. It's probably gone now. So, she's looking for something that will have a longer span, that will, we'll have access to. And then if there's delays in it, we'll just have to wait.
yeah, just saying, if
Yeah.
the sooner it gets out to bid, because nobody's gonna order anything until
Until
they
they
have a
have, I
contract.
know, I
And then,
know.
Is it fully approved on the town council board meeting? Or does
No,
still
it has
need
to go to
meeting?
town meeting.
that's good, now, after town meeting, though, could go out. Only because it's just subject to appropriation.
Right.
So
No, they can't actually do it till July 1st, but you get the ball
you can't,
rolling.
there's no money available till July 1, but you can bid it pending appropriation.
Do you buy a certain overage on it so that in case it gets discontinued?
Yes, it's all like standard numbers that they've told us, and we're doing carpet tile, so, that's, there'll be tile, there's tile all over the building now.
Right.
It's, people looked at like, I wonder if that would actually do a home.
Yeah.
We've never actually had to use it, but it's there if we did. Yeah, I noticed something there. Staying over there.
And there's generally a percentage of
Yeah, I just,
Of what they
when
call
she
it.
was mentioning that the one that they had originally picked was no longer available, it just made me think like, oh,
well, it's
because you want a good many years out of.
Oh,
the
yeah,
carpet, right?
oh, yeah,
What's
you
the
get,
lifespan that you-
you get extra.
Yeah.
So that if there's something needs to be replaced, you got a piece.
they build in what they call attic stock. It's not much, it's really not that much, because you're not gonna replace, let's say you get 10 to 12 years out of the carpet, not more. It's not gonna be available anyway, so you're only doing things that, like a repair or
Yeah, that's what
something
I
like
meant,
that.
just patch.
Yeah. So, but it's way better than, rolled material that's of sheet goods, and then you can't really fix it, These, you can pull the tile up and put a new one down. They never look right because of the wear and tear of carpet, but it takes a while. Okay, anything else on budget? So capitals, so everything's just going to town meeting, no other adjustments. Okay. Buildings or grounds, nothing to report.
Can I ask before, next Tuesday comes along, what's the latest on the front sign and where are we?
Well, I promised to complete that project, so
Okay,
I am, and I will complete it. I just haven't done it. But I'll start, I will, I was thinking about it today, and I gotta resurrect everything. It's not a big deal, but it's
do you have to start over and get new bids?
well, we didn't have bids, we just had estimates, quotes, and we just gotta nail down exactly what to do. But I got this big relief when they canceled blossoms, because I had this deadline put upon me, and then.
No, it's a good week to resurrect things, so.
Oh,
It's a good, you gotta.
There you go.
Get it going.
There you go. Okay.
And you can always give me the stuff now.
No, I will. I just, it's all in pieces in a folder in my house. Just gotta do it. All right.
So we'll
But I
see, we'll
did-
see you
I'm-
again. is what-
I'm not, I said I would finish that. So I will finish. Let's see.
You've been
Sorry.
recorded.
I know, it's been recorded several times. Friends. Do you want to handle the book sales contract now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't do this last year because I was thrown for a loop by the fact that there was even a book sale.
I don't know if you guys saw Cindy posted on Facebook the other day that they're doing a book drop Saturday after Easter weekend, at the end of spring break. Is that what it is? Yeah. And it didn't look like there was a sign up to use the times or anything, so I don't know. So open drop off or what?
Where would the sale be this year?
It's gonna be a Hurricane,
It is gonna be at the Hurricane.
but there's no guarantee that they'll be able to use the bird again. So this June
Okay.
is there. So this agreement is signed by by Tim for the trustees, and the president of the Friends sign it, and then it goes to town council. And it says that for and in consideration of the sale to the Friends of the Library, the Friends of the Library shall give to the town of Wakefield through its library trustees for use in the library an article or articles of personal property equal in value to the books transferred from the trustees to the Friends. So it just means that we haven't given away books that they've sold and not returned the proceeds to the library. You can sign
You want
that.
me to sign that?
Chair.
Thanks.
Information.
Yours is the attached letter,
Yep.
okay? Okay,
I don't think the Friends meeting tomorrow, is it once it's our last meeting or because this meeting is early?
It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
yeah, I don't think there's been
Yeah,
a
there-
meeting in between.
No, they hasn't.
Okay.
So you-
Are they, as far as you know, Catherine, are they still on target? Weren't they getting a whole new slate of?
Yeah, I think that will probably be discussed tomorrow. And I heard that it was going smoothly.
Who's the trustee for tomorrow?
Why?
Just wondering.
Why, no, why would it be fine?
Because they got a
That's what I was
sale coming
wondering.
up, they got a whole new
They got a
turnover.
slate.
Coming up. Yeah. It's Easter weekend, it's Passover weekend, it's fun.
Excellent.
Gift funds, you have cards, signature cards need to be done.
Yes, and they got done. So Scott and Susan signed the check writing thing for Fidelity. So now Fidelity will finally be handled after all these months. Every time I send them something, they tell me it's not everything I needed, but the check card was the final thing, so that should go through tomorrow. And the people who are no longer on the board or on that fund will no longer be on that fund. So that would be good. And I don't think there's anything else to gift funds.
But, okay, anything with legislative advocacy, is anybody?
Oh, Jeff does that. And there was the governor presented some kind of bill. It's gonna happen today. I think the amounts were gonna be decided today on what was coming, but I haven't heard that there's anything to worry about. But they always like to hear support. I've been in touch with our people, and they're very supportive. Generally, so we seem to be in a good place. Yeah.
The state aid.
State
costs,
aid
yeah.
and the money that goes to Noble.
Right,
That's been really helpful, because there's a lot of things that are happening at Noble that are changing. They're going to the cloud. They're worried about cybersecurity. They're doing lots of things that they've had grants for, and they're getting grants from the state. And that money is what was appropriated to libraries in general.
I apologize if I've asked this question before, but when I was looking at the state aid numbers, is there a time frame? Like, it looks like we still have a balance from state aid for 2019.
Oh, yeah.
So is there like a timeline by which you have to use it?
No, but the town accountant will frequently say, what are you doing with that state aid? And as long as I can say what it is that I'm doing with it, which is why I put the little notes next to it, There was a year that we were cut mid-year. And Sharon was the director, and I was working with her. And what saved us that year is that we had state aid that we used to buy books. That had we not had that state aid, we would have been certified because the cuts were so deep. And the town couldn't do anything. It was like 2008, 2009. Yeah, it was really serious. So we were able to, weather that because we had a little, Saugus calls it fruit reserves. Fruity reserves. Yeah.
Well, what's good about the state aid funding too is that the very point is we allowed to carry, it's not tied to a fiscal year. So we're able to carry it forward, build a kitty, which is not true of a lot of other funds we have to. Got to use by a certain time,
So you can save it for projects. So it must have been what they used to renovate the building. Because they had to get drawings and all that done, so they must have
We
used
probably
some
used-
state aid
Yeah, we
to
probably used
start the
back then,
process.
to start it, but then it was all, and we bonded the
Right,
rest.
right.
And-
But it was to
And then
get
there was
the
the grant,
project over.
and we had a grant from the state. That I,
Construction.
yeah, construction grant, that I forget the value of it, but it was a good chunk. I mean, it's probably, I've been close to 50% of it. I don't remember exactly. It's a while ago.
Are we still waiting on the second payout of 22, or did we spend half of 22?
Are we waiting for the second payout of
That's
22?
good.
Yeah, we're-
Opening, it
yes,
says
yes.
opening balance is 46,000.
Yes.
Current balance is 23,000.
Yes, because we're just waiting for that money to go in, but I changed the number to 46 because I got the firm number, they said it's been transmitted.
Okay. I remember it being approved. And I
It
just-
was approved
we
and
haven't received it.
last week it was transmitted, so soon we should see it, and we've alerted the town accountant that we should expect to see it.
So personnel, we have to sign, all the trustees have to sign, so we have one document, we pass around. And at some point you can get Jeff. And Scott.
Yeah, should I pop in some time and sign those?
Please.
I'm assuming.
There's only one copy needs to be signed, right?
Right.
We have a date next year.
Well, we always try to have it on the last Saturday. Which,
Here you go.
oh, thank you.
I know the school calendar's out.
Oh, is it?
After spring break.
Okay. So the last item on the agenda is collection development policy. We started this last meeting. Essentially tabled it. So take a look at it and then review it tonight.
I didn't give you a copy.
Right, we didn't have all the pages.
So this time I numbered the pages.
Got a good one.
So the thing about collection development policy is that it's it is the responsibility of the trustees, the collection is the responsibility of the trustees. And typically the trustees will defer to the director who defers to the staff. And we end up with a well-rounded collection. So in the event somebody challenges something in the collection, we all want to have an idea as to how it was collected and why. So that we can support everything that's here and the reason that is here. And different libraries have different collections because they have different communities. So a typical collection development policy, and this one's been in place for a long time, it was first written in 1997, and it's just only been tweaked since. Typically what you want to do is describe your service population, because that's your community, and that's who you're collecting for. And you're also taking into consideration that you're part of, like in our case, we're part of Noble, we're part of Massachusetts library system. So those collections outside our own building, we also have access to. So we may be able to have fewer of something because we have access to some of this else. So we write about the community. We think about the library's mission. We identify that the responsibility is the board of trustees, which adopts the policy that's directed by the director and administered by the staff. And then we have a selection process. And the most important part of the process is the criteria for material selection. And those are all the factors, any of which we would take into consideration. Usually many of them are balanced when we're trying to choose what it is that we really want to put our money. And then we describe the scope of the collection. In our case, what's significant is that we don't have college level stuff necessarily, because we have colleges in Noble, so we can get those things. They tend to be very expensive, so it saves us some money. That's everything else we do. And then maintenance of the collection gets a little tricky because people get nervous that we throw out books. But maintenance of the collection includes reading it. And so once something is no longer of use, and we define what those things are, you know, it's worn out, that they use language that we don't use anymore, that Pluto is in the book and it's not a planet, whatever the things might be. Sometimes we give them to the friends to sell if it's a good quality thing. If it's got really bad information in it, old information, we won't recycle that. And we are part of a program that recycles and gives us credits for new books, which is really nice. And that's what we call that. And then there's information about gifts and how when we accept gifts, that's subject to the same criteria that we use to collect. And then there's a section on intellectual freedom and challenging any item. If a member of the public wants to question whether or not something should be in the collection, they can do that. There's a whole process for that. And it's not any one person who makes that decision, it's a team of people who will talk about it and really look into it. And if the person is not satisfied, they can go to the Board of Trustees and plead their case. I don't know that it's happened, you know, it usually, when it happens, it's usually discussed right on the floor and it never becomes a written challenge. People will mostly ask questions and just want to talk about it. The last time I had a challenge, it regarded somebody who was the author. The author had been found to not be a very nice person. And so this patron wondered if we maybe shouldn't be collecting things that this person wrote. And so we had a whole conversation about it. And as a practical matter, you really can't know about every author or anything, like how do you really? So as a practical matter, it became, obvious that we wouldn't pursue that. And she was happy with that. She just wanted to vent. It worked out really well. So in Wakefield, those are the things that we get close to challenges, but there are lots of challenges right now across the country. And I think with a challenge, you need to be open-minded, and I would take every challenge seriously. I would never, we could miss something. There could be something that maybe should be there, so I would take every challenge seriously. But when we choose things, there's someone in the community that wants that, and that's why we've chosen it. Not everything is for everyone, but we want to have some things for everyone. So that's pretty much how we're working.
Did anything spark this particular revision, at this time, or?
What sparked this particular revision is that the census projections that we make reference to in the community service population are changing more rapidly than what this would. This was done in 2016, and it refers to census projections for 2020. And I think that Wakefield is changing with all of the cruise ship and all of that. We're changing in so many ways that I think we need to look at the demographics every year. I don't think we should be relying on, the decade census, but really look at it more frequently. So we took everything out and just replaced it with, for purposes of collection development, census data, including population demographics, households, and school enrollment will be reviewed annually. So that was the start of it. And then we cleaned up a couple of words. On page 2, I added the word typically. The library typically circulates close to 300,000 because during the pandemic we didn't, but we typically do. I changed the needs of an aging population to its elder population because when we wrote it, they were aging and now they're there. And then on page 3, one of the criteria that we added, we talked about how we were going to do this, and the last criteria that's there is equity, diversity, and inclusion, which is something you see the EDI, people like to focus on that now. And we couldn't figure out how to put it in because it's something that we always considered. We've just never actually had it, formalized it. We never had it, we never verbalized it in that list, but it was something that we did always think about. So the more we talked about how to put it in, we said, well, why don't we just list it as, so that's what we did. There were other ways to get it in, but we just kept it simple.
Has anyone, I guess I'm wondering, because I've seen social media very quick this week, as people are talking about the upcoming town election, there was a few posts about book banning, that sort of thing. I'm just wondering if anyone approached the library about our policy in general. And
No one has, but, and even if we did not update this policy tonight, this is in effect and it's perfect. There isn't anything that I'm concerned about. There was a challenge in Noble for a book concerning the maps that were in it. And we didn't have that book. So I didn't get the details of it. But in the libraries, it was a good faith. What I have heard that there are people from other parts of the country just randomly calling libraries. This was a good faith thing. Somebody in Noble was calling all the Noble libraries that had this book, and they met, people talked about it, and everybody, what I understand, was satisfied in the end, and they kept the books.
You know what type of mapping issue there was?
It was a map of the Middle East, and from what I understand, it did not include Israel. So, and it was a children's book. And I haven't seen this, so I'm talking about something I don't know anything about.
Secondhand.
Secondhand. But from what I understand, Israel wasn't in it because the characters in the book, there was no Israeli character. And there were other countries that were missing too. It was just the map only showed the countries from the people in the book. So when you looked at it, it looked like that was missing, but then, so then it became, well, maybe that wasn't done the best way it could have been done, but it still is not the same thing. So.
How does this work with our digital? So you obviously don't have, maybe you do have access to like each individual book on Hoopla or something like that. Do we just say we're signing into Hoopla?
Well, it did come up actually on Hoopla because Hoopla had, I don't know, do you remember what it was that was in Hoopla, Jackie?
I want to say, was it a Holocaust denial book?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, and so a lot of libraries went to Hoopla and said, we thought you were, what? Who put this here? And we do have a little bit more control. We can remove anything we want. The trick is to find it.
I was saying, but you guys don't, with books coming in, there's a committee or however it happens where basically every book is chosen by a human in the library, right? With that, you're just we're choosing our services hopefully carefully and then hoping that they're curating correctly.
The individual librarians.
No, so like Libby and Hoopla, are we
Yes.
just, you can't individually curate that, right?
So they're different. A Hoopla is like Netflix, like we get what they put out. And like Catherine said, though, they did, I don't know if was that a change, Catherine, or was that always true that you can remove things, I think, and hide them from your collection? I don't know if we always could do that. But Overdrive, Libby is curated and it's curated by us and Noble. So not every single thing in there we purchased, but someone did. I think everything had to be bought in Noble. I don't think there's a basic collection. And I actually buy our account books. So I do choose all our specific collection, which you can't necessarily tell from looking what's ours and what's not, but those are more curated.
And Noble has a collection development policy.
Yes.
Do that, not that you have any control over it, separate entities. Do the schools have a separate policy? The school libraries? Yeah.
I would imagine they do. Even if it's not written, the librarians I know, I would imagine that they have something in mind that they're doing because they're excellent librarians. So, and they have very limited funds. So I'm sure they're going to teachers and saying what's they're providing what they need. And I don't know if the school works with Casey or not, but I know she's given them the opportunity because we will try to supplement their collection.
We had, before the pandemic, we were coordinating a lot more closely. I'm not sure if that's picked up since then.
Just click discards. Do any of those discards go to the public schools? Are there spots for some of those to go to?
I don't think we've ever, no.
Well, Casey was doing something with the high school at one point where they were giving what, do you remember how that worked, Catherine? It was right before the pandemic. I feel like we only did it for like 6 months.
I remember her doing that. We talked about that at a meeting where she was bringing over like a box of, almost like a little library kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what those books were though. I don't remember. I doubt they were weeded books. Because usually there's a reason we weed, like if it's not good anymore, if it's not in good condition. So I don't remember if those were donations that she was picking out, that we were getting stuff from the friends and she was selecting stuff to bring over there.
Or they were the extra summer reading books, maybe?
There might have been some extra summer reading books.
Official news library stuff.
And where does this person get their books? Donations.
We get a lot.
Is there anything in that that's viable? That thought, if we're having a hard time selling books, that there's an avenue to get them into different school libraries?
I know like when the Friends does their book sale, they always do free days for the teachers. So they have, I don't know, I think it's at the end of the sale is they reach out to all the teachers and basically say, come in and fill bags and take whatever you want for free. So they're able to, stock their classrooms.
Yeah, we can do that though, always check to make sure, to find out if there's anybody local who wants it.
I was just curious about like any restrictions. Anecdotally, my child in the 5th grade was told she couldn't check out certain books because 5th and 6th graders weren't allowed to. And I had to call the librarian and say, if it's in the Galvin library, I'm okay with reading it. It's kind of my parameters as a parent. And so I didn't know if there was, I guess any kind of similar, obviously any kid can go pick any book in the library, right?
In this library?
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, that's part of the policy, they can pick, yes, there's.
Right, I think there's a paragraph in the
Because how
policy
could-
about,
Because everybody
it's up to
is
the
so,
parents.
yeah, everybody is so different, how can you say who can have one thing and who can't have another? The other thing is that it really helps you develop the skills you need to find what's appropriate, what isn't. And it's sort of what you should do on the internet too. The internet's kind of the Wild West, is scary, but you have to learn how to not click that thing or find the thing that's worth clicking. Seems to get harder every day. Yeah, it's a form of literacy.
Yeah.
And everybody's everybody grows at a different rate, so you can't set an age that it's, what works for one child and works for another adult, it's not gonna be the same, so. We're just providing it and we will provide guidance. And the youth librarians are excellent at that, they really know the collection. And I got help, how do you, I had a 4th grader reading on college level. So I'm looking for material that's not gonna traumatize him. And those is something he wants to, and it was the librarians who helped us find things.
Yeah, I've gone to them on the same topic, basically, so when you've got an advanced reader, but they can read, more than they're capable of understanding, maybe, I guess, you know what I mean, yeah. The subject matter didn't quite match what the reading was.
And sometimes that's okay because it just goes over their head. They'll read it again when they're 25 and say, oh, that's what that was. That's what that was all about.
Any more comments about the collection? So it looks like, for the most part, you really abbreviated the front section, and the rest was just a little bit of a tweak. And the only thing I'd suggest is you might want to put it on a, that you look at the, you look at the policy maybe every couple of years versus 2016 and now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So the last thing, provisions of the policy, should we make that more specific? It says the statement of policy will be revised as times and circumstances require.
I thought that was acceptable.
That is acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to tie you to a schedule. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that
You want to
there is a lot more going on. You probably want to take a look at it a little more frequently,
Right.
it seems to me.
To that end, I've been a trustee now for 3 years. I would have thought that's my original packet, maybe it was, shame on me for not reading it. But I thought that's a fabulous document, it's fascinating, and I think it's something that we should look at regularly, whatever that may be, maybe that's annually, or maybe that's, like, I think that's something a trustee should be in that trustee packet. And maybe that's, you don't have to spend this much time on it annually, So maybe that's a checkbox. Yep, we reviewed it again this year. I looked at it.
How about if you had just, you know, statement of this policy, we revise this times and circumstances required and review the trustees at a meeting.
And reviewed by the trustees annually.
Yeah, you might, I mean, you might want to throw it out there just to say, okay, yeah, it's good.
We don't want to make it seem like it's the sort of document that's gonna shift, right? You don't want,
No.
for the librarian's sake and for the patient's sake, if we just make enough noise, they'll just change all these criteria, right? Or something, I don't.
Yeah.
It almost is more like a mission statement.
Yeah, the criteria have to change probably since it's been written. But it doesn't hurt to look at it every year because then it reminds you pretty well of what you're signing on to. And also if there were any tweaks or things that you saw that, wanted new buildings or something,
To Dave's point, if
something
we
like
had
that.
had a challenge, I think we would all see that document the first time and be like, okay, how do we do it? Now what do we do now?
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But
So-
you'll hold our hand through it anyway, so.
What I learned from, well, I would actually, because what I learned from the event when the hate group came.
Yeah.
Sharon called everyone before the news got out and said, don't say anything until we speak together. Because your gut reaction, and she contacted all the town council too, because your gut reaction is to say something that is not going to be legal. We have obligations that we have to talk about for you, so don't respond to this yet. And so, yeah, you all kind of walked through it together, and thank God for Tom Mullen.
Yeah, but I mean, I think your point is that if the environment we're in right now, somebody could come out of nowhere and say, well, that shouldn't be in your library. And you want Catherine or librarians to be able to say, well, this is how we chose those things, and to be able to defend it. Because some of the stuff that's happening around the country is pretty bizarre, in my opinion, but, we're a little more, northeast, I guess.
Yeah, but to Kevin's point though, like, who would have thought that hate group would have taken Sleepy Wakefield, right?
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
think that that's-
Yeah,
But that was part of their tactic. To do that, because they knew it would get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see book bans as a topic this week on Facebook groups. Like, why is that even coming up in the election?
Incredibly widespread across the country.
Right.
American Library Association, publishing side, from the school side. I can see that coming up on like school committee.
Yeah, it came up, I think it was a school committee post.
yeah,
when the topic came up.
when people get frightened of things they don't understand, they want to stop it. So I was reading something in I think it was Nature magazine, a lot of scientists talking about things. And one of them said that he thought these bannings and the things for schools, that them not wanting to teach certain things, that it was very similar to what happened with evolution. That, it wasn't a done deal, and they didn't want it taught because people weren't sure, they were afraid of it. And now it seems like, that's nothing now. But sometimes it is. I guess sometimes it is, but at least we're used to it, it's not a new theory anymore.
Right. But it's nice to see, like, okay, this is our policy and we keep it, like you added the diversity line. And the section on controversial materials.
And also there's a policy in place for how people can challenge something like that. Laid out really nicely for us.
Yeah. And so there is a process, take it to the librarian first. We had something challenged once and now that I'm thinking of it, at the school. Somebody stood up during summer reading presentation and was concerned about one of the books on the list. And the librarian fully explained why it was there, and not everyone had to read it, but there were some people who would want to, and they would have that option. And once she explained it, everybody was fine. Sometimes it's just a matter of understanding and being heard.
It ties into the sound bite mentality. You hear something in a 10, 5-second clip, you go, what? That's, that. And then it gets explained in context. It's a different reality.
Okay, anything else on all right, so we just need to vote. So I need a motion to accept the amended collection development policy.
Make a motion to accept the amended collection development policy.
You have a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay.
Is that making the, with the change to
Amended.
the amendment,
Yes, as
but
amended.
with the, but with the additional change of the annual review?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I added that in. I wrote that down.
Nice to see you.
We're just about to wrap it up.
Do you want to make the motion?
Perfect timing. So items are not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Well, since I am the chair and this is my last meeting, after 30 years, I think it's 30 years, not sure, but I think it's 30. So I just want to say that I loved being on the board and I enjoyed it. I met tons of great people, worked with a lot of good people. And I'm sure things are in good hands. You don't have anybody really that's got some age here. Well, maybe. Maybe. All of you else.
I got, 65, it's only a number, there's only one alternative, so I'm okay with it.
So, but at any rate, I do appreciate working with all of you and all the past people I've worked with, many trustees have come and gone, over the past 30 years. And, I remember most of them, some I don't, but.
He'll come back to you.
Is that a record? 30 years? That's longer than Cindy, longer than Kevin, right?
I don't know if it's a record. I have no idea. I don't know.
We've been here for 100 years.
I've got some reports to the trustees back to.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, you'd have to, I don't know, I have no idea. I'm sure it's pretty lengthy compared to most. And it's funny because I was talking to my wife about this and she said, "You're gonna feel bad?" And I said, "Not really. I mean, it runs its time." But I remember how I started. It was a trustee who pulled me in. You remember Rich Burchill?
Yes.
Yeah. Some of you, I don't know, he was a principal.
Montrose, yeah.
And I was friendly with him and he says, "Give me a lot of help." They grabbed me and I think my oldest was in kindergarten at the time. So it started that way, and then I met, it just kept going. Of course, we did the library renovation. We started it about 3 years after I started. So that was a big one.
But the library renovation finished in 97. So if that was 3 years after you started, before, so your term was
Yeah,
94, 93?
maybe. I meant to look.
Right at that 30.
I wanted to look at the annual report, see where I showed up first. I haven't done that. But anyways, I do appreciate working with you all.
Before we start recording, I just want to let you reiterate that you are still going to be an active participant in building and grounds and blossoms. I think he said that a couple of times, so you want to say that for the
I'm
recording.
still, Blossoms volunteer. I know where you're coming from.
And building and grounds.
And Bill, I will, Catherine knows she can call me anytime and I will wrap up the sign.
So you're not gonna miss us at all.
So,
We'll see you next month.
but I don't get to vote on anything,
That's
so which
okay.
is fine. And, like I said, it's been a lot of fun and it's been pretty cool that I've only had to work with 2 directors too. If you think about that. We had Sharon was a long-term director and Catherine won't be as long-term, but she'll be there. Unless you decide,
The lifespan.
unless you decide to work longer than I could imagine, but we've had that benefit too, of just working not with a lot of turnover at the higher level. Really, even at the lower level, stay for many, many years. It's been always a good group of people working. So I appreciate all that, and I just wanted to say that. And I appreciate you letting me be in chair this year. I do recommend you keep the meetings as short as possible.
Cheers to you.
Yeah.
Cheers to
It was
you.
an extraordinary run. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Your service to the library and the community is exemplary and it's fabulous. They're lucky to have you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. One thing I will say is, I always thought of this thing is, when your kids are young, you do coaching and you do all this other stuff, and that was busy and civic. And this was my civic duty, my civic responsibility for years. I always felt I needed to contribute to something. So, I do appreciate it. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. Mr. Gillies' last meeting.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.